silence from the brute. "Answer me!" shouted Mother. Like a cornered beast, he lifted his eyes and glared at her. "Our supplies are running out," he snarled. "We need more food, or we'll die." Mother returned his glare. "Our supplies are not running out. We have plenty of food and water. We have package upon package of biscuits to tide us over till our rescue." She took hold of the plastic container in which we put the open rations of biscuits. It was unexpectedly light in her hands. The few crumbs in it rattled. "What?" She opened it. "Where are the biscuits? The container was full last night." The cook looked away, as did I. "You selfish monster!" screamed Mother. "The only reason we're running out of food is because you're gorging yourself on it." "He had some too," he said, nodding my way. Mother's eyes turned to me. My heart sank. "I see. Is that true?" "It was night, Mother. I was half asleep, and I was so hungry. He gave me a biscuit. I ate it without thinking." "Only one, was it?" sneered the cook. It was Mother's turn to look away. The anger seemed to go out of her. Without saying another word, she went back to nursing the sailor. I wished for her anger. I wished for her to punish me, only not this silence. I made to arrange some life jackets for the sailor's comfort so that I could be next to her. I whispered, "I'm sorry, Mother. I'm sorry." My eyes were brimming with tears. When I brought them up, I saw that hers were too. But she didn't look at me. Her eyes were gazing upon some memory in mid-air. "We're all alone, Gracie. All alone," she said, in a tone that broke every hope in my body. I never felt so lonely in all my life as I did at that moment. We had been in the lifeboat 2 weeks already, and it was taking its toll on us. It was getting harder to believe that Father and Ravi had survived. When we turned around, the cook was holding the leg by the ankle over the water to drain it. Mother brought her hand over the sailor's eyes. He died quietly. The life drained out of him like the liquid from his leg. The cook promptly butchered him. The leg had made for poor bait. The dead flesh was too decayed to hold on to the fishing hook. It simply dissolved in the water. Nothing went to waste with this monster. He cut up everything, including the sailor's skin and every inch of his intestines. He even prepared his genitals. When he had finished with his torso, he moved on to his arms and shoulders and to his legs. Mother and I rocked with pain and horror. Mother shrieked at the cook, "How can you do this, you monster? Where is your humanity? Have you no decency? What did the poor boy do to you? You monster, you monster!" The cook replied with unbelievable vulgarity. "At least cover his face, for God's sake," cried my mother. It was unbearable to have that beautiful face, so noble and serene, connected to such a sight below. The cook threw himself upon the sailor's head, and, before our very eyes, scalped him and pulled off his face. Mother and I vomited. When he had finished, he threw the butchered carcass overboard. Shortly after, strips of flesh and pieces of organs were lying to dry in the sun all over the boat. We recoiled in horror. We tried not to look at them. The smell would not go away. The next time the cook was close by, Mother slapped him in the face, a full hard slap that punctuated the air with a sharp crack. It was something shocking coming from my mother. And it was heroic. It was an act of outrage and pity and grief and bravery. It was done in memory of that poor sailor. It was to salvage his dignity. I was stunned. So was the cook. He stood, without moving or saying a word, as Mother looked him straight in the face. I noticed how he did not meet her eyes. We retreated to our private spaces. I stayed close to her. I was filled with a mix of rapt admiration and abject fear. Mother kept an eye on him. 2 days later, she saw him do it. He tried to be discreet, but she saw him bring his hand to his mouth. She shouted, "I saw you. You just ate a piece. You said it was for bait. I knew it, you monster, you animal. How could you? He's human. He's your own kind." If she had expected him to be mortified, to spit it out and break down and apologize, she was wrong. He kept chewing. In fact, he lifted his head up and quite openly put the rest of the strip in his mouth. "Tastes like pork," he muttered. Mother expressed her indignation and disgust by violently turning away. He ate another strip. "I feel stronger already," he muttered. He concentrated on his fishing. We each had our end of the lifeboat. It's amazing how willpower can build walls. Whole days went by as if he weren't there. But we couldn't ignore him entirely. He was a brute, but a practical brute. He was good with his hands, and he knew the sea. He was full of good ideas. He was the one who thought of building a raft to help with the fishing. If we survived any time at all, it was thanks to him. I helped him as best I could. He was very short-tempered, always shouting at me and insulting me. Mother and I didn't eat any of the sailor's body, not the smallest morsel, despite the cost in weakness to us. But we did start to eat what the cook caught from the sea. My mother, a lifelong vegetarian, brought herself to eat raw fish and raw turtle. She had a very hard time of it. She never got over her revulsion. It came easier to me. I found hunger improved the taste of everything. When your life has been given a reprieve, it's impossible not to feel some warmth for the one to whom you owe that reprieve. It was very exciting when the cook hauled aboard a turtle or caught a great big dorado. It made us smile broadly, and there was a glow in our chests that lasted for hours. Mother and the cook talked in a civil way, even joked. During some spectacular sunsets, life on the boat was nearly good. At such times, I looked at him with tenderness, with love. I imagined that we were fast friends. He was a coarse man, even when he was in a good mood, but we pretended not to notice it, even to ourselves. He said that we would come upon an island. That was our main hope. We exhausted our eyes, scanning the horizon for an island that never came. That's when he stole food and water. The flat and endless Pacific rose like a great wall around us. I never thought we would get around it. He killed her. The cook killed my mother. We were starving. I was weak. I couldn't hold on to a turtle. Because of me, we lost it. He hit me. Mother hit him. He hit her back. She turned to me and said, "Go," pushing me towards the raft. I jumped for it. I thought she was coming with me. I landed in the water. I scrambled aboard the raft. They were fighting. I did nothing but watch. My mother was fighting an adult man. He was mean and muscular. He caught her by the wrist and twisted it. She shrieked and fell. He moved over her. The knife appeared. He raised it in the air. It came down. Next it was up. It was red. It went up and down repeatedly. I couldn't see her. She was at the bottom of the boat. I saw only him. He stopped. He raised his head and looked at me. He hurled something my way. A line of blood struck me across the face. No whip could have inflicted a more painful lash. I held my mother's head in my hands. I let it go. It sank in a cloud of blood, her tress trailing like a tail. Fish spiraled down towards it until a shark's long gray shadow cut across its path, and it vanished. I looked up. I couldn't see him. He was hiding at the bottom of the boat. He appeared when he threw my mother's body overboard. His mouth was red. The water boiled with fish. I spent the rest of that day and the night on the raft, looking at him. We didn't speak a word. He could have cut the raft loose, but he didn't. He kept me around like a bad conscience. In the morning, in plain sight of him, I pulled on the rope and boarded the lifeboat. I was very weak. He said nothing. I kept my peace. He caught a turtle. He gave me its blood. He butchered it and laid its best parts for me on the middle bench. I ate. Then we fought, and I killed him. He had no expression on his face, neither of despair nor of anger, neither of fear nor of pain. He gave up. He let himself be killed, though it was still a struggle. He knew he had gone too far, even by his bestial standards. He had gone too far, and now he didn't want to go on living anymore. But he never said, "I'm sorry." Why do we cling to our evil ways? The knife was all along in plain view on the bench. We both knew it. He could have had it in his hands from the start. He was the one who put it there. I picked it up. I stabbed him in the stomach. He grimaced, but remained standing. I pulled the knife out and stabbed him again. Blood was pouring out. Still, he didn't fall over. Looking me in the eyes, he lifted his head ever so slightly. Did he mean something by this? I took it that he did. I stabbed him in the throat, next to the Adam's apple. He dropped like a stone and died. He didn't say anything. He had no last words. He only coughed up blood. A knife has a horrible dynamic power. Once in motion, it's hard to stop. I stabbed him repeatedly. His blood soothed my chapped hands. His heart was a struggle. All those tubes that connected it. I managed to get it out. It tasted delicious, far better than turtle. I ate his liver. I cut off great pieces of his flesh. He was such an evil man. Worse still, he met evil in me. Selfishness, anger, ruthlessness. I must live with that. Solitude began. I turned to God. I survived. Is that better? Are there any parts you find hard to believe? Anything you'd like me to change? What